Merry Christmas, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you with a full complement. We've got four corners of the quadrant being stationed on this show. And we've got a guy called Flicky Stingers or something like that joining us.
Wait a minute, he's moved up the top now. What's going on?
Yeah.
Top of the
And
chart.
these guys... and these guys down here, well, these are the usual culprits that are on.
Couple ex-convicts.
Was that you and Anne? Wait a minute. I'm not the ex-con, I'm from the old country.
Shit, if anyone's the convicts, it'll be Brad and you and I, mate. That guy over there, that guy over here, sent them all over the place.
Yes, I am 300 years old. Yes. Sometimes it feels like it.
Yeah, we've had a bit of time to remember it, though.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, oh, great. Oh, thank you, Andrew, for organising this, and Brad, nice to meet you, and Simon, appreciate you being so loyal at all hours of the day to do the show, or night, or morning, or whenever it is.
Not doing anything else.
Yeah,
5 and 6
definitely in the morning.
Nothing else is happening.
So you got your rations and your coffee?
Tea,
Good.
coffee.
And what's happened to Brad? So we've got some new bubbles there, guys. Have you had a look there? Your name tags there they're all different now. We've been given nice new bubbles by StreamYard. So thank you, StreamYards.
They look pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Nice.
And it comes up, a little bit different there on the bottom there. So
looks very social media friendly.
Yeah. Come a long way from, what was the first one that you did? The first platform?
Google Hangouts.
That's it. Come a long way, yeah. So thanks, guys.
Big time.
So obviously we're talking about a monster album, the classic period, 68 to 72, as we know, Beggars Banquet, Let It Bleed, Get Your Eyes Out, Sticky Fingers, and Exile. I gave it a bit of thought yesterday. So Sticky Fingers is the first album where Mick Taylor was played from start to finish. I mean, obviously, Let It Bleed, he did a couple of songs. There was a transitional period. Get Your Eyes Out, he was, launched into the cauldron of the 69 tour and running hot. And then they finished with the European tour. So Mick Taylor was really running hot, and Mick and Keith obviously writing great songs. So, and obviously a very famous cover. A lot of Levi jeans sold, I guess. And true to the story, it was a real zip, and they had to. I used to collect that album, and they had to what's it called? Can the covers, because the zips were touching the other covers, and they had to flatten it. And here's a fun.
Apparently, it's making indentations on the.
Yeah,
vinyl.
that's right. And there was 2 countries, Russia and Spain, where that cover was seen as controversial. And so they had a couple of fingers coming out of a can.
Yeah, kids.
Yeah, there we are.
Getting a bit of reflection. But, there we are.
Which is even more bizarre. If you look at the Spanish cover, it's a little bit sinister, isn't it, compared to that cover there that Simon's holding up.
Yeah.
Can't understand that.
Andy Warhol piece of art there. But
apparently my favourite bit is that to get over the indentations and thing, they decided they needed to pull the zips down a bit when they shipped it. So they had the ladies in the pressing plant pulling all the zips down.
Shivers. Shivers. Oh, and another monumental thing. It was their first album on their Rolling Stone Records subsidiary of Atlantic.
Yep.
So a big career turning point, that album, as far as and the other thing, the most important thing is every song is good. It's going to be hard to do this list because I can't put any song down, really.
That's fine.
So, yeah.
Should we just say good morning to McKinley Lohman, who's a name I don't recognise? Hi, McKinley. Thanks for joining. And Arvin, of course. Arvin, happy Christmas. Hope you're doing good, guys.
So I start with,
of course, the other thing,
sugar.
Carl,
Sorry.
the other thing we should say about it is that it's the debut of the Rolling Stone tongue icon.
That's right.
Iconic logo. That's been going for 50 years.
And to this day, still that's what we know them as, eh?
Yeah. 50 years.
I've actually got a copy of the CD that came out with the zipper on it. I've got.
Did they do a CD with it? Did they?
Yeah, and I can't find it, so hopefully I haven't misplaced it. But the CD cover itself was slightly bigger than a standard cover, and it actually had the zipper on it with a piece of plastic over the front of it so that the zipper wouldn't damage anything else. So, if I can find it, I'll be very happy because it was one of my favorite things at the time when I bought it. It was fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, it's a. There's quite a few not remixes but different takes too. They the Spanish one had a live track called "Let It Rock," which was amazing, live at Leeds. But I mean, everybody, even non-rock fans, know that album just for the cover.
Yeah,
it's
a classic.
I think it's top 100 album covers of all time. Easy, yeah.
Iconic cover, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
iconic, yeah.
But so we just hit it off with, we go by song, do we?
We do.
Yeah, well, I think what we want to probably do, Carl, is, I appreciate the introduction that you've given, so that gives us an opportunity to talk about a couple of things, maybe in the songs, but maybe Simon and Brad want to just talk about maybe the first time that they heard the album, and sort of put it in a personal context after you've told us about your personal experience with the album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just like being having young parents and my dad being a bit of a Stones fan, and that surfing, drinking, smoking crowd it was a big hit at parties, That particular album and the Rolling Stones is big with the surfers, and quite looking back now, I mean, there's a few ballads on there. It was quite a hard rock album, so very much a party album, But it was just synonymous for me. Actually, my uncle would always play side 2. That was his favourite side. He loved that song, Bitch. And that was just, he loved that flow of tracks. So I was raised around it as a kid growing up through my parents, really. I think both my parents owned it. It was just a great album. Had a little bit of everything on there. Rock, ballads. Let's not forget the beautiful interplay on Can't You Hear Me Knocking, the Santana feel, the blues covers, You Gotta Move, and there was another one on there, and the Haunting, Sister Morphine. It just had everything, had a little bit of everything. So for me, I'll be listening to it till the day I die. What
about you, Simon?
Well, it's where I came in with the Rolling Stones. I started buying records in 1972. So, and this came out in 71, so pretty much this was the first Rolling Stones record I got. So, as I said, where I came in, really, with Brown Sugar particularly, as the key song, single, and so part of my teenage years growing up, really, that album, and ever since, I've had it. I couldn't. There's a table in front of my vinyl collection, so I'm going to get my vinyl out. But I have got a vinyl copy of it as well as a CD copy of it. So
awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of my record buying, initial record buying life, and part of my life ever since.
Brad?
Yeah, well, for me, it was probably the first actual I had a couple of Rolling Stones box sets, which were, the singles era from up until the sort of 70s. And then my first real CD of the Stones I bought was Sticky Fingers, mainly because I obviously knew Brown Sugar and I loved that tone and I wanted to sort of investigate more. And then the second song in, which we'll get to when we go track by track, I realised, it's a timeless song, Brown Sugar, but I realised there's a lot more depth to the Stones than Brown Sugar. And I really enjoyed, investigating. And I honestly, really love the 70s era of the Stones. I love it. Especially the late 60s, 70s era of the Stones, probably my favourite. But this album in particular, yes, was like my first actual Stones record that wasn't like a compilation of singles and all sorts of things like that. So, yeah, and then obviously I went backwards and bought, Satanic Majesty's Request and all the earlier ones, and went forward and bought ones forward from that as well. So, yeah.
It was probably my second album, guys, that I heard. I managed to listen to that compilation album that they did called Gimme Shelter or something like that, and it was like a live album, but it wasn't really, and it was, had bits and pieces on it. And I remember hearing that again. I've mentioned this lots and lots of times on these shows, through my uncle's record collection when I used to go and visit my nana, and I was just fascinated. And the first thing that caught my attention after listening to that album, when I decided I liked the Stones, was looking at that record cover. That record cover blew me away, so putting that record on, and I think Brad's hit the nail on the head. I knew Brown Sugar. When you're 14 years old, everyone knows Brown Sugar back in the early 1980s, because it was, a song that was played everywhere, even to this day on classic rock. But then when I listened to every song after Brown Sugar, it was, holy cow.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Definitely.
First track, Carl.
All right. Well, hey, so what a way to kick off an album. What a way to kick off a tour. What a way to kick off a concert, Brown Sugar. Like Brad said, I had this guy that was helping me when I was 17 just figure out a few chords, and he was fascinated with open G, and he played Brown Sugar, and I played it when he tuned my guitar to open G, and it's just a revelation when you play it, because it's so chunky and powerful. So yeah, and the drums coming in and Bobby Keys on that honking sax. I mean, it's obviously a massive song, obviously a crowd favourite, and obviously popular with the non-Stones fans. But you'll never get sick and tired of listening to it at all. It's a good groove, not too fast, not too slow, and everybody gets a piece in that song.
They do.
Everybody gets a piece. So yeah, that's a 2 thumbs up from me.
So do you give it a ranking out of 10?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Simon.
I was reminded by that its classic status is. I don't know if you've seen Shine a Light, the Martin Scorsese film.
Yeah.
Have you seen? There's a bit in there where Mick Jagger has the different levels of Rolling Stones songs, doesn't he? Brown Sugar, Honky Tonk Women, and Jumping Jack Flash are kind of like, the ones you never leave out, because they're like the iconic classic songs. They've transcended the kind of the genre of the band and everything. They're just they're out there as part of the cultural thing, and so he's got those on a list, which I always think of. Of course, Carl, going back to your point, the Brussels Affair in 1973 starts with Brown Sugar. Great opening track. Keith with his five-string open tuning.
Oh, what a song! What a song to kick off a concert, a live show. I mean, it's just it's full throttle, isn't it? Yeah, full throttle.
Yeah. So it's recorded in Muscle Shoals in Alabama over 3 days. Just part of their American. You do 3 days in the studio and kind of just go in and record something. It's amazing. Just turn up with a song, knock it out, carry on, and debuted live at Altamont. Would you believe?
Wow.
At
Yes.
the request of Mick Taylor. Mick Taylor asked that they could do it at Altamont.
Here's a slight fun fact. There's a famous album where they had big hits, high
High
face
Tides in
cookies.
Greengrass.
No. Sorry. It's a cut a long story short. There was a version with Eric Clapton playing lead or slide guitar.
Yeah, it's on the anniversary issue.
Yeah. But that never made the final cut. So, just for all
For good reason.
Yeah, it's a fraction sloppy and slow, but just for all you other fans out there getting into the Stones, yeah, that was a fun fact.
Yeah.
So Simon, your turn. Yep.
As you say, kind of a classic riff. The classic riff, and great kind of guitar interplay between Keith and Mick Taylor. I think going through it, great, as you said, great piano for me and Stuart, and that kind of coda at the end, that kind of Chuck Berry coda at the end, where they do is the kind of solo thing, which is, and I think that you could say this is a rock song, can't you? For me, it's a rock. It's not an R&B song. It's a rock song.
Big time.
Clearly rock. Not the advent of rock, but clearly a rock song. They've moved from their R&B roots, and this is a rock song more than it is an R&B song. There's no any of that structure to it.
I'll cut in one more time.
Got a rank there,
sorry.
Simon?
Yeah, I'm giving it 20 out of 10.
A Brad score.
I've got a Brad Cook score here.
Yeah.
20
You got to Brad it.
3 minutes 48 of magic. 20 out
I'm
of 10.
sitting here very quietly and I was waiting for it, so that's amazing. Great.
Brad,
you think I wouldn't miss the opportunity? I'm cheap as you like, mate.
I'm going to Brad it. What's your rundown on that song, Brad?
Okay, I'll keep it short. Just a timeless intro on guitar. I love the way they pan the guitars on this record, the left and right panning. I love that in this song in particular. Love the acoustics. There's a nice acoustic in the background if you really listen to the mix. I think Mick Jagger's vocals, he sort of loves or hates his vocals, but his delivery in this song are really, really strong and great vocals. BVs are fantastic. The sax is perfectly and a great sax solo. The rhythm section, when it kicks in, it's really kicking along. They're really tight. I gave it 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Awesome.
Yeah, look, I agree with what you guys are saying there. I think it's a timeless song, isn't it? It's probably it's one out of 3 songs, isn't it? It's either Satisfaction, Jumping Jack Flash, or Brown Sugar, isn't it? That's going to be the definitive Stones 45. And, we can do a whole show on just that question, and it's probably worth doing next year with the resident Stone Nuts here. Look, I love the album. I'm glad that Simon mentioned where it was recorded, because it's a interesting little thing with this album. It's recorded at 3 different venues. So as we go through the songs, if no one's mentioned it, I will just mention where it's recorded, because I think it adds to the atmosphere. So early December in '69 recorded, as Simon said, in Muscle Shoals. So certainly gives it that bite, maybe that the song deserves.
Southern sound.
Yeah, written by Mick, which is interesting, and apparently the riff too. The riff is accredited to Mick and tidied up by Keith. So let's not forget, Mick Jagger's a riff meister too. Love the song, and I'm going to be adamant about this. If you're going to play this song, you've got to play it in open G. I've seen a lot of guys, and I've played it in standard tuning over the years, and you get pretty close. But, to get that satisfaction, you got to play it in open G. So it's 10 out of 10 for me, and it's never a skip.
I love how you mentioned to get that satisfaction.
Who's your script writer?
And it's still mysterious to this day what the actual theme of the song's about. Is it about heroin, or is it about black woman? So,
well, that's the great thing about it.
No one knows.
about lots of things.
Cool.
Yeah,
Great.
but an absolute classic to open the album.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Nelson. Next song, buddy.
Is that Sway, is it?
Sway.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what I like about this particular song, a lot of people don't know this, but that's Mick Jagger on that Dirty intro. So there we go. I mean, obviously, Keith, he's under the wings of Keith as far as, watching Keith play. But three things I like about the song. It's heavy, interesting lyrics, but I guess my favourite part is just the beautiful Mick Taylor solo. And pre-Eddie Van Halen, pre-Joe Satriani, pre-Angus Young, there's some finger tapping going on there in that solo.
Do you think it's tapping, or do you think it's just a very fast three notes?
I'm not sure. There's something going on, but it's beautiful. But it's not everybody's cup of tea, that song. I mean, they very rarely do it at all at live shows. I think they may have done it 2005. But yeah, it's definitely a studio song. It's hard to recreate live, that one. But for me, I remember it as basically just a really raw intro and just a beautiful, beautiful guitar solo. So that's Mick Taylor all over that. I'm going to give that a 7.
Well, as you say, I love that kind of woozy entry. It's classic kind of Stones, kind of woozy,
sloppy, yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't call it sloppy. I see that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sloppy. I think it just has that kind of into it kind of thing, which is, I mean, it feels like where the Stones were at that, kind of. I'm just going to kind of fall into it and kind of, look, there we are.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Mick Jagger's first ever recorded performance on electric guitar. Straight, absolutely. So I agree with you. Lovely, great, great Stones tempo as well. Mick playing slightly behind the drums, and kind of giving it that absolute classic Stones feel of Mick, keep up, would you? and his 5-string, open G 5-string again. And as you say, impassioned vocals. I think the vocals are really good. I think Mick's absolutely singing, and the solo is amazing, isn't it? It's fantastic. I love that Mick Taylor solo. Really good. Listen to that loads, and it's. I don't think it's tapping going on, but it's a brilliant solo, and that kind of quite fast. Kind of
maybe just hammering
bits.
on and off.
I think hammering off is probably what's going on.
It sounds like tapping. Yeah.
But it's fantastic. Really good. Great solo, great feel as well. Very nice, kind of melodic, because beautiful thing. And I love the strings at the end as well to give it a bit more atmosphere and give it a lift at the end. Just great chat. I'm giving it 19 out of 10. And never a skip.
Very good, Brad.
Well, I'm just waiting for someone to time out Carl for giving that song.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's not happy with your ranking of the song. He reckons he should be timed out.
Yeah. Purgatory for 10 minutes.
10 minute time out. No, I'm kidding. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. I'm just joking. Sway. For me, this song, I mean, I love Mick Jagger's playing on it. Actually, it reminds me more of Ron Wood, to be honest with you. His playing is just fantastic. But anyway, so that sleazy swagger feel to the song. Love the guitars. Bass lines are really cool in this song. This is one where the bass is really a standout for me. The drums are swinging. It's got that nice swing to it. Great slide solo. And there's that I love the outro solo, and I did mention the hammer-on pull-offs, great guitar tone. The piano is a beautiful touch, and I gave it 10 out of 10, never a skip.
Yeah, thank you. Look, it's a 10 out of 10 for me too, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because Keith isn't anywhere at all on this song. Second open G song on the album, so it's got that new sound that the Stones had been alluding to with a couple of the other albums that they had been experimenting with and different open tunings, but they finally nailed the open G down. Look, I totally agree with you guys. It's the problem with this song is that it follows Brown Sugar. That's the problem with Sway. You know, it's it could have easily have opened up the album, and Brown Sugar could have followed this. You know, so I suppose that could be a discussion too later on. Love the song. And I'll just check my notes, guys. So,
where was it recorded, Andrew?
So Sway was recorded at Stargroves on their mobile recording, and November 1970. So you got to remember too, guys. That there's a long period of time between some of the songs, on this album, because some of the history, behind this album, that's when they discovered that they owned Her Majesty the Queen millions of dollars. So the next album was the one that they recorded in France, didn't they? So, and then they had the Klein affair, didn't they? And setting up Rolling Stone Records. So they had a lot of things on their mind, which is probably a reflection of the album. Maybe they went back to work on these songs as an escape, as something that they could fall back on, as a refuge maybe. But it's never a skip.
Good point there, Andrew. Good point. All those points are, things I thought about when I was listening to these songs too, Andrew. So, yeah, very valid.
Cheers, mate.
And just one thing I want to interject. I think Stargroves was Mick's house, wasn't it?
Yes. Mansion.
Yeah.
Mansion. I live in a house.
Humble abode.
Should we mention it was a mansion?
Humble abode. Nice.
Gal.
Yeah. What's the next one?
Wild Horses.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So
we just can't. So Wild Horses, synonymous with me with obviously a ballad. We know that a lot of the 90s bands 80s, 90s LA stuff was influenced by that particular song, because there would always be a power ballad in their rock albums. But I think this is just a great, once again, a great harmony and a, what's the word? You can just really see Mick and Keith working together on this. I think that was all, wasn't it all Keith that did that, or Mick was in Australia doing Ned Kelly and someone overdosed, and it was just all a bunch of things that happened that created that song. I think Marianne Faithfull went into drug overdose, something like that. But just a beautiful ballad. That's all I can say. Open G, once again, correct? Was it natural tuning? Natural tuning. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Which I'd read that Keith had learnt that one of his early tours. Is it 12 strings and 6 strings are tuned differently or something?
Mick Taylor uses the natural tuning, which the E, A, D, and G of the acoustic guitar are strung an octave higher. Can't imagine tightening up that far, but I'd be afraid.
So that song reminds me of just a great rock ballad and a great party sing along. What an amazing chorus. Once again, just a heavyweight of a song. I mean, everybody, even non-Stones fans, know that. And there's been beautiful cover versions over the years by country artists, Guns N' Roses, a whole host of bands. And it's not an easy song to play at all. Because with Stones, even though they don't play the most complex chords or the most complex structure, it's trying to capture that feel. And that's something that's special that Mick and Keith have and the whole band has, capturing that feel. So I think that song for me is a perfect example of just the closeness of Mick and Keith and only that particular band having that feel. So that's an 8 from me. No skip.
As if,
so I say no skip, do I?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh cool. Yeah. No,
Only
no
an
skip.
8. So anyway,
that's good. So that song for me, and in closing, it's a feel for me. That song.
Yeah. So Jim
Big song.
Dickinson on piano, because Ian Stewart, although present at the session, refused to play a piano part on it due to the prevalence of minor chords, which he disliked playing. It's as wonderful as playing on that. It's got minor chords.
That's Ian Stewart, isn't it?
Yeah, Ian Stewart. Yeah, didn't like playing minor chords. Apparently, wouldn't refuse to play on it. So Jim Dickinson played on it. So, Keith on electric guitar and a 12-string acoustic, and Mick Taylor does the 6-string acoustic, but in the Nashville tuning.
Wow.
I'm investigating it now. I don't know, Brad, whether you know something about Nashville tunings, but it sounds, as I say, it sounds like tightening a bottom E string up so it's an octave higher. It sounds like a recipe for neck breaking and all sorts of madness. But I'll have to look at that. So, and I think Carter Baker inspired clearly by their time with Graham Parsons. Yeah, that kind of country feel to it.
Country feel.
Twin acoustic guitars. Lovely acoustic 12-string. You can hear really clearly. I love the kind of harmonics, the tack piano harmonics as well. Took me a while to figure out that was, but that's really nice. I think it's the backing vocals, that singing that they do, give it a lift in the chorus. Lovely interplay between the acoustics, I think, and the great country licks played on the electric, I presume by Keith, which is great. Proper country Telecaster licks. So I love the slide guitar punctuation as well, the call and response bit that they do. And drums come in, drums come out. For me, a perfect song, perfect ballad, never bettered in my books. 20 out of 10. And I mean, two absolute Stones classics in the first 3 songs. I mean, unbelievable, really. And I think Wild Horses is up there with Brown Sugar as being, one of the great Rolling Stones songs. It has great singing as well from Mick, and the bass playing. It's the perfect song in that sort of genre for them. So that's why I'm giving it 20, Brad.
Well, Simon, I think you've been reading my notes, so I'm going to cut mine a bit shorter, just to
sorry.
We're not. No, that's fine. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength here with this record. So the guitars and acoustics and electrics are just beautifully entwined. That's one thing I really noticed. They focused really heavily on this throughout the album, and they did, moving forward with the Stones, their guitar tracking became more about interplay, not necessarily doing the same thing, which is something that a lot of bands picked up. Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, all of them. The Black Crowes, all borrowed, begged, and stole from the Stones. Really, let's be honest. So, drums and bass in this song, I really enjoyed the swing that they're holding down. The choruses are timeless. Like, great BVs, anyone can sing along to it. If you're performing this live, everyone sings along to the chorus. Everyone in the venue will start singing it. It's a beautifully written song. Nice little simple guitar intro, but simple but difficult, if that makes sense. The tuning thing I won't delve into too much, but that stuff is pretty intuitive stuff, like when you're thinking about the time frame and they decided to try that tuning and they wrote a song with it. That's some of the best songs ever written around open tunings, which the Kashmir from Zeppelin, etc. So I mean, I can really hear where the Black Crowes got their influence from in this song. Another band I love, and
that's another show.
I gave exactly. I gave this a 20 out of 10. 10 out of 10, and never a skip.
Look, I think before I just offer a couple of comments about that song, Carl and I had been talking about this off air for about 3 or 4 years, doing a Black Crows show, guys. So that's certainly one show that we've got to do next year. You know, that Hard to Handle, that first album that they came out was just phenomenal, wasn't it? But anyway, I get back to the song. So one of the great things about this song is that it's a song that you can listen to when you've broken up with a girl. It's a song that you can listen to when you've met a girl. It's a song that just shares a lot of emotions that we have. From my experience, it's a happy song and it's a sad song. It's beautiful, recorded in Muscle Shoals. So again, I think it's got an edge, an authenticity, something there. If you guys haven't seen the Gimme Shelter DVD or the film where they show snips of the Stones sitting in the recording studio, please go and have a look. And they focus very closely on the faces of the Stones, Mick Taylor and Keith, while they're playing the song back, and it's fascinating watching these guys react to the song. I'm going to brad it. It's a 20 out of 10, and it's never a skip. I love it.
Get in. Oh dear.
Carl.
We're bradding. It's become a verb. Yeah. Brad, sorry.
Becoming part of the show.
And the next one is Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Can't you hear me knocking?
Okay.
Wow.
So when we think of, well, true music lovers, when they think of Keith, they call him the Riffmeister or the Keithmeister. And obviously, you know, you guys mentioned Jumping Jack Flash and Satisfaction and, you know, certain riffs that he does. But Can't You Hear Me Knocking is a heavyweight of a riff. It's so unique. It's so powerful. It's so contagious. It's so, I mean, it's just, the recording is amazing. I can't tell you how many gangster movies they've used that as a theme song during the movie, whether it's Blow or Goodfellas. It just, Martin Scorsese, you could tell, especially his films, he always uses it. The Departed. Yep. So Martin Scorsese, I love him as a director. I love his movies, but I love his taste in music. He's a big Stones fan, and Can't You Hear Me Knocking is, you can hear that Santana influence, and that's where Mick Taylor is so strong. So we've got that beautiful heavyweight intro. We've got the aggressive lyrics, singing from Mick Jagger. And then they break it down with that middle Cuban-inspired Latin theme in the middle there with the congas and beautiful, what they call noodling, guitar soloing, and it just never gets old. And if you know how to play it, I mean, you just get a jump. I mean, I've seen Andrew play it. Does a good job. I've tried to play it. And that's another. It's murder to try and do that in standard tuning. It has to be open. Is it open D or open G?
G.
Open G, brother.
Yeah.
Open G all the way.
So it has to be open G, and it's just, I think it's one of the highlights of Keith Richards' whole career, as far as what he is, how unique he is, and what he does to a song. So I'm going to give this, for the first time, a 10.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. It's a no skip from me. So, and in closing, obviously Keith's riffs is monumental. It's a heavyweight. It's catchy, contagious, but the whole band's on fire.
Yep.
Yeah. Couldn't agree. Yeah, that classic Keith opening riff. Open G guitar, and then the great interplay between the guitars between Mick and Keith, and great singing as well. And
absolutely,
that kind of breakdown with Rocky Dijon congas and Bobby Keys playing the sax solo over the top of the guitars, you know, which is really great. But they intertwine more than I'd sort of remembered, really. Taylor and Richard, so it's really good actually. Obviously with Billy Preston on organ as well.
Wow.
So and then as you get towards the end, now apparently apparently it says the jam at the end wasn't inspired by Carlos Santana. It's not. I mean, it sort of sounds like it, but we didn't even know they were still taping. That they thought they'd finished, and Mick Taylor just felt like playing on, so they kind of kept playing basically. So in effect, they have two kind of have the song, and then they have the jam bit at the end. A chance for them all to stretch out and
caught the groove, and it was magic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of one take wonder, and somebody was still there pressing the. We talked about this a lot. Pressing the button at the right time to catch the magic, and that kind of Mick Taylor at the end, kind of just playing beautifully at the end as well. It's really, really cool. So for me, a 10, never a skip. It's not a 20 though, only a 10. But, and I agree, and I love the chance that they kind of give themselves, because they don't do that much stretching out, do they? The Stones are all about being quite concise, 3-4 minutes, that's it, and you're gone, kind of thing. Whereas this is 7 minutes is a much better idea. So I love it. It's a great song, and gives it a different ambience, all the conga stuff at the end, and the Latin feel, completely different vibe to what they've done. So great, 10, no skip.
Awesome, Brad.
I'm glad we're all giving 10s on this one, because this is probably one of my favourite songs on the record, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the intro on guitar. It's classic Keith, and I think he keeps going back to this style of riff, even with his expensive wino bands, moving forward to like Steel Wheels, like that Voodoo Lounge tour. Like, there's so much that they did where this riff he mirrors this riff a lot, his styling with this open G tuning. Wonderful. The drums are swinging. I love that swing. The bass is moving around the guitar. It's not actually hitting, especially on the intro. It's like it's dodging the rhythm guitar perfectly in time with the drums, which is, very hard to do. The vocals are great. The BVs are great. Love the chorus. I especially love the outro, the percussion, that hypnotic riff and feel there where they're just jamming, the sax improv and guitar improv, the little guitar solo in the outro of that warm neck tone. It's just great. The more I listened to this record, like in the last week, the more I kept gravitating to wanting to hear this song. And, I reckon I could have listened to that outro for another 10, 15 more minutes and not got sick of it. So, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Definitely not a skip.
Mick Taylor on his ES335. There we are.
Yep. Oh, wow.
Nothing better.
Wow.
It's a masterpiece of a song. Probably one of my favourite Stones songs ever. I love it. It's a classic. You guys have just pretty much nailed pretty much the song from my notes. I'll go by some memory notes here. So I think if one album redefined the primary role of a guitar, it was this album, the whole album. And this song certainly is a contributing song to it. And Mick Taylor redefined that whole sound of the Stones, didn't he, with this album, and the next album and the next album. He redefined it, because one thing we got to remember, guys, the last couple of albums, it was all Keith playing the guitar. It was, there was no Brian Jones, and I think on Let It Be it was just only a couple of little bits and pieces that Mick contributed to. So
correct.
So he's on this album. Interesting little point that I want to just throw in before we get to the next song. So I pulled out the Bible. Well, it's the book next to the Bible. It's called Life by Keith Richards. It's the New Testament according to Andrew Walton. Okay, so and read what Keith said about this album. And one thing that I want to talk to you guys about or mention is that when they recorded these songs, they knew exactly what guitar style Mick Taylor was going to bring, and they wrote a lot of these songs around Mick Taylor. Now that's coming from Keith Richards himself, so that's got to be a humbling recognition, I suppose, to the ability and to the role that Mick Taylor had in the band. And this again's another show, because why did he leave the Rolling Stones? But yeah, that's another point for discussion. But look, I'll be serious. It's a 10 out of 10. It's my favourite song on the album, by far, and probably my favourite Rolling Stones song, up there with in the top 3.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very good. Man.
Moving on.
Yep.
You got to move.
You got to move.
So,
got to move.
So here we have obviously no electric at all.
My first boss used to say that to me. Sorry, Carl. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Forgive me.
So we've got Mick Taylor on slide, I'm led to believe. Is that right? And is it Keith on a what's that, steel guitar, or was he on a standard acoustic guitar? Resonator?
No, he's played as National Resonator.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Resonator. It's very hard. What I like about the song, obviously, I'm a blues man. I love blues music. Stones, they never forgot their roots. And it's great to see the Stones always putting a blues song in every album they do, somewhere, some way. Well, most of their albums, they put a blues-based song at least. But this is a very hard song to get the right feel, and I think this is a testimony to Mick Jagger's singing. It's not an easy song to sing, because less is more too. I mean, it's pretty stripped down and raw, that song. Yep. And for them to get that feel, there is a lot of emotion, a lot of strong vocals. We know that Mick Taylor's no slouch on the guitar and a wonderful slide guitar player. Keith obviously cut his chops with this particular song, I think, in Prodigal Son on the 69 tour. But Fred McDowell is a giant when it comes to blues music. He's a one-man band, him and his slide guitar. So not an easy song to cover. It just shows you how great the Stones are. So for me, the feel, the song, the arrangement, everything, it's an 8, no skip.
Yeah, it's an interesting little coda to side one, isn't it? Sort of, and a completely different vibe and a completely different feel to what's gone before. I agree. It's kind of obviously based on a traditional African American spiritual song, going way back. And those, as you say, those lovely slide and 12-string stuff, and Keith on his national guitar, and I think and Jagger singing in his authentic Afro-American accent, which kind of, I must say, looking at it through 2020, it sounds a bit quaint, but that's what Mick does, and it's an effort to bring an authenticity to it, which I think he succeeds in doing. I think it's it's a great, it's a great little number and a great little coda to side one. I'm giving it an 8 and not a skip.
Well, my opinion on this one differs a little bit. The slide, the vocal melody, it's impressive. Although this song's always lost me a little bit. Just probably not one of my favourite examples of the Stones. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and I wouldn't play this for anyone that doesn't know the Stones, because it's a borderline skip for me. I'll put it this way. I listened to this album in the last week, probably 6 or 7 times. I skipped it a few times. So, yeah. That's just
you get the idea of it, don't you? It's kind of, once you've heard it 2 times, you do get the idea of it for sure. There's not kind of layers.
Yeah. And if you're a blues purist, and I've got the Fred McDowell albums, and the Fred McDowell stuff is just amazing, sublime, and you know where he's coming from, because he spent 50 years in the South and 30, 40 years in a church. It's just synonymous with him. Where if you're a purist, you think, oh, this is just a cover song from the Stones trying to do blues. But myself being a big Stones fan and thinking outside the box, knowing where they're coming from, I can appreciate what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But for a non-Stones fan to be like, what the hell's this? You know,
It's certainly a song that hardcore Stone fans debate over whether or not it's in the canon or not, or where it sits in the album. The fact that it ends side one, I think, is a good thing. It's what the Stones do, isn't it? It's paying homage to their roots. I agree with Brad. For a long, long time, I used to skip this until I discovered the blues, and and this is one of the reasons why we love the Stones. We talk about this often, and Led Zeppelin and Clapton, that they're a gateway into these black guys from Mississippi, from Arkansas, from Alabama, and it wasn't until I went down that road personally in my musical journey where I came back, like Carl said, and renegotiated the song and understood clearly exactly what the Stones were trying to do with it. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me. I play it. It's a pretty easy song to play on a resonator, in my opinion. I love Mick's vocals. He's just one of these guys that can put on an actor's voice, can't he? And he can just put you somewhere. And again, if you guys haven't seen the version, the unplugged version where they're playing this at Madison Square Gardens, please check it out, where they're playing it and there's no one else there, and you just get a different appreciation of what they're trying to do. 9 out of 10 for me, and it's never a skip. Not now.
All right, so side one wrapped up, guys. What a great job! I'm really proud of you guys. I appreciate it.
And after a smooth landing on side two, so here we go. Side two. What a way to open up an album. So obviously there was a lot of thought behind the flow of the songs.
They put a lot of thought to it.
Yeah. I mean, once again, we talked about Brown Sugar, we talked about Can't You Hear Me Knocking, but what a way to open up. So my uncle started the Sticky Fingers album on side two, not side one. That's how much he liked the song Bitch. And we have a mutual friend, you probably heard about Richard Fox, and he's probably he'd have New Zealand's finest Stones memorabilia collection, if not probably the top 10 in the world. He's been in the news, he's been on TV. He's actually got credits in Stones DVDs. They've borrowed his gear or taken photos of his. But that was the song that got him into the Stones. And it's probably Bitch. I love guitar. Andrew loves guitar. We all love guitar. I can play it in standard tuning, which helps me because I don't know how to do open G. But
it isn't standard. It's a standard song.
But it's probably one of my favourite Stone songs to play in the car. It's just a V8 car driving song. It's probably not a good song if you like speed, because you probably might.
How do you mean?
Well, no, not the drug, but the vehicle going too fast.
We'll just snip out and use it.
I was going to say, we're a family-friendly show, Carl.
Yeah, car driving speed. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Carl, we get it.
Yeah. So, and this is Mick Taylor takes a back foot here because.
Warren, what are you like?
Well, what Warren's bitch was written about one of my sisters. Sorry, Carl. These guys interrupting you.
Yeah. So, once again, a great Keith riff, but Keith pretty much owns the song. Obviously, Mick's great vocals and kicking in the stall and, all that sort of, quite aggressive lyrics. But so Keith does the intro and the guitar solo with that classic, and the way he fades into the solo, he actually is a delay, but it's perfect. And then it's just standard Keith, untrained, sloppy, rough, raw, rugged, and in the style, obviously, of Chuck Berry. So I'm going to give this a 10, and
look at that.
I would never skip it ever.
Ever.
I've played it so much, the record skips.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Very good.
Do you get used to it?
Yeah.
I could agree. I think it's a great song. It's got a great riff. I love the horn riffs as well. Really cool horn riffs in it as well. It's cool. I've come across a great thing about Andy Johns was saying that when they were doing Bitch, basically Keith was late. Oh, no surprises there. And Jagger and Mick Taylor have been playing the song without him, and it didn't sound very good. So Andy Johns walked out into the kitchen, and Keith is sitting on the floor, no shoes, eating a bowl of cereal. Suddenly he says, "Oi, Andy, give me that guitar." I hand him his clear Dan Armstrong Plexi guitar. He puts it on, kicks the song up in tempo, just put on the vibe right on it, and instantly it went from being this laconic mess into a real groove. And I thought, wow, that's what he does. And look, the power of Keith Richards could take some sort of bit of mess and just make it into a classic.
Cornflakes or Wheaties, was it?
History does not relate. Cereal, generic. But and as you say, it's got a great solo as well. Sort of key solo, but for me, never a skip, and a 9. Absolutely great opening to side 2.
Brad.
For me, this is a great rocking little tune. Love the guitar riff. For me, this song, its first song on the second side redeems himself a little bit from the previous song for me. Catchy melody. Love the lead line with the sax lines. Nice Chuck Berry licks in the solo. And I'm repeating a lot of what you guys are saying. So I gave it 9 out of 10. It's never a skip, and you could play this for someone to introduce them to the Stones and go, this is what the Rolling Stones are, and they'd get a great grasp on it.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think it's a fascinating song. It's a song that's relatively pretty easy to play. The intro is a good, if you've been playing the guitar for a couple of months, 6 months, when you want to stretch out a little bit, it's got a bit of a Chuck Berry chug going on there, as it goes into the chorus. Interesting that Carl mentioned something about the sound, the planning of the albums. One of the things that Jimmy Miller did, and we've got to hand it to him, is that he understood the art of the album and the tones and the and how that had an effect on the listener. Because this is a point that we've made many times, guys, and I'm sorry to repeat it, but back then you were listening to an album, not one song. So they were, the 10 songs were there for this journey. So when they were placing the songs, they were careful about the keys that they were in. So, for example, most of the songs on side 1 are all in the key of G, and then the first song on side 2 is in the key of A, and that's no surprise. So, and then bang, when you turn it over, you're in a chord, another, chord higher. So it's a masterpiece of a song. I'm not going to say anything more about the song because you guys have said it all. It's never a skip. I love the song, and it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Andrew, you've mentioned this before with other Stones albums where they do a whole side in a single key kind of thing. So clearly a conscious thing that they did. Any ideas where that might have come from? Was it
Jimmy Miller?
It's Jimmy Miller, is it, saying we're going to do them all in E kind of thing, and all the E songs are going to be on side 1?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was. It probably. Look, I think you're right, Simon. I think it basically came down to that kind of thing, So, they were recording the songs, they were coming in with the songs, and he had an ear. He's a musician, he's a drummer, he's listening to the songs, he knows what key they're in. So, so you're going like this, and so he's careful about that. He's the producer. He's schooling the Glimmer Twins so that they take over that role, after Goat's Head Soup. But yeah, very conscious decision. by the producers.
Yeah, unlike I can't think of any other band that does it myself. I've never particularly noticed, but that's a really interesting point. Yeah, that they clearly are doing it consciously as a thing. Yeah, so think of that. Good point.
Great. Next song, a ballad.
Yeah.
I Got the Blues. So I remember Andrew and I coming back from a Robertson Sinclair end of year Christmas function. We'd been fishing. The weather was amazing. Andrew had the CD, and for the first time in my life,
We caught all the fish.
for the first time in my life,
Fisherman's tale.
I appreciated the song because I would always not skip it, but disregard it. I didn't have patience for it. It's probably for me the weakest song on the album. I love Mick's singing. I understand and appreciate what he's trying to do. It's very Otis Redding inspired, I think, very R&B. He can pull it off. I think the crowning achievement of the song would be the organ solo. And there's ascending and stuff going on. It's well arranged. It's just one of the, probably one of the lowest points of the album, just for me personally. I probably would skip it, but I've never skipped it. But I think I have skipped it actually, so I'm going to give it a 5. But in saying that, in closing, if Mick and Keith are listening, it's still a great song. You know,
get off the fence. Splinters.
Just
Keith and Mick, don't cancel your subscription to the channel, please.
In closing, there's not a weak point of this album. It's that Stones period. Every song's great, and this is a great song, but there has to be a weak point. There can't be. We don't live in a perfect world, so
good point.
That's just one of the it didn't quite hit the mark for me. Great song, and I'll stand by what I say. It's a 5.
Yep.
Interesting. See, I have a completely different view. For me, this is like one of the sleepers on the album. As you say, that kind of reference to Otis Redding's "I've Been Loving You Too Long," that kind of slow kind of build. I listened to it and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely, and I hadn't particularly remembered it from a while ago until we started listening. And every time you get to something and go, wow, listen to that. I just loved it. I love the sound of it. I love the horns. I love the slow kind of picking twin guitars. I think it gives it a really, they can do this authentically, the Stones, it for me, I loved it. I love the feel of it. It gives me the goosebumps when I listen to that opening bit and you play. I think Jagger does a great job vocally. I love the guitar interplay between the two guitars, and I think Billy Preston does a great organ solo comes in, and as I say, for me it was a bit of a sleeper because I hadn't particularly remembered it from a while ago, but I thought it was a magnificent song. I'm all for a bit of Otis Redding. It's he's one of the men, if you're asking me. Great. It's one of the greatest soul singers of all time. Just a magnificent musician.
He's one of Brian Jones's favourite musicians.
Yeah. Well, I'm up there with him. It's there's nothing better than Otis Redding, and I think they do it justice. I'm giving it a 10. I would never skip it. I think it's got a real feel and a real vibe that I plugged into, and did a lot for me, this song. And as I say, I hadn't particularly remembered it, so for me it was the sort of, whereas the others I pretty much had. It was just real sleeper for me, as I hadn't paid attention, and then I paid attention, and I think it's a great song. And I'm giving it a 10. That's what I think about it, and I'm not skipping it.
Brad,
I got the blues.
Hey, D-Tube.
Simon touched on a lot of the points I was going to bring up, but so I think you're reading my notes, Simon. But I really enjoyed the tremolo guitars. I think it's a tremolo sort of effect on the guitar, whether it's just straight from the amp. It's a mellow vibe. It's really cool. The sax lines are really cool. Great BVs. And I just highlight Billy Preston's organ solo. I really, really love this song. I gave it 8 out of 10. No, never a skip.
Yeah, again, guys, there was a song that I would skip, when I was a young guy because I wanted to hear the rock and roll. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until, I don't want to repeat myself, until I was on the blues highway where I would go back and renegotiate the song and, a gateway into Otis Redding, because you're reading about, Otis Redding. So, and then the song is a recognition towards that. So again, top marks to the Stones. I remember that road trip, and I remember forcing Carl to listen to this, because the rule is that when you're driving in my vehicle, you don't get a song selection. I'm in charge of the CDs, all right? So unless you're hot, and then
until New Zealand, and I pick the songs.
But no, I do remember that, and Carl and I did. It's a true story. It's not a fisherman's tale. We caught all the fish. We went up to Auckland and we showed these Aucklanders how to catch fish in their own backyard. So, great road trip. I think one of the sad things about this song is in the 2010 tribute or repackaging that they did. They included the 71 live at the Leeds University, about 4 or 5 songs, and they do a version of this live. And it's a testament again to the Stones, because some songs that they've recorded on the studio, they actually play better live. This is one of them. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me. I love the song.
Good points, Andrew. And I also want to mention that this is a song that I used to skip as a kid because I wanted to hear the Keith-driven, open G riffage like, earlier, and the Brown Sugars and that. But, listening to it now, I appreciate it way more.
Awesome.
It definitely grows on you. It definitely does. What have we got now?
Sister Morphine.
Sister Morphine.
Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting song. So it was actually, I think it was birthed around 68. They'd done around the Biggest Banquet sessions, and then it just sort of sat on ice, and then they just chipped away at it. It's quite a haunting song, very haunting. It's really nice to play. Really nice to play on acoustic guitar. Once again, I mean, obviously, standout Ry Cooder on slide, standout beautiful Keith Richards acoustic. Mick Jagger takes centre stage with, you feel like you are in the hospital room. You do feel like you're a junkie when you're listening to it. You feel the horrors of what it would be like to be a junkie or something. So, when music critics wrote about Sticky Fingers, they said, heavily laced and drug themes, obviously sway, bitch, and in this song, But I love the song. I love the minor aspect. It's haunting. The way that they carry it through with Mick Jagger's vocals, the rhythm section's quiet. Ry Cooder, what a gem of a solo. It's just very dark. But the Stones' music's not supposed to be full of light. It's supposed to be full of all emotions. So I love listening to the song. I'll never get tired of listening to the song. I've never skipped it. I love it so much I try and play it on guitar. It's a
Quentin.
9. It's a 9, never a skip.
Hey, Quentin, I'm still working on the Mohawk. It's not going well.
It's a reverse beard. It's his reverse beard.
My hair grows up, not down. What's left?
Thank you, Carl. I'm glad that you mentioned the drug themes, because it was certainly around in the marketing of this album. So, but I won't take over because it's Simon's turn. So, but we can talk about that. Yeah.
Clearly a drug song.
Yeah.
And I think that the interesting part of me was that Marianne Faithfull wrote some of it. So I think that's one of the few not Jagger Richards songs. She gets a co-credit on it, and I think her. She said that she was influenced by the Velvet Underground. So if you listen to Sister Ray and Heroin, and which are clearly, those Lou Reed songs that are much darker like this.
And Nico. Was it Nico?
Yeah, Nico. Yeah, that's right, Nico. Yeah. That there's clearly a link between Into That from Marianne Faithfull, which gives it a completely different, darker vibe than the stuff. That's saying something, isn't it? A darker vibe, but a different kind of vibe to. She. As you said, it was about a man in a car accident in the hospital who's damaged and wants to die. But I agree with you. I think that slow acoustic strum where you just have the acoustic guitars at the beginning, and then you've got that atmospheric electric guitar that comes in
out of nowhere.
It builds up out of nowhere. Then you've got the bass that comes in next, and it builds up. And then you've got a kind of impressionistic part before the drums come in. And then, as you said, you've got Mr. Ryland Peter Kuda on that bottleneck guitar, playing a beautiful solo on the track. I love the way that it kind of builds up from almost nothing, just twin acoustic guitars. You're pulled into the story, you're pulled into the atmosphere of the song, and I think it does have a really good atmosphere to it. And so for me, it's a 9, never a skip. And it's a perfect kind of another kind of Stones song. When you make an album, so we've talked about this. The planning of an album, and you're deciding what order the songs are going to be in. Is it the perfect time to bring this in? Really, in the middle of side 2, you get a different atmosphere, you get everything, but it's still a really strong song. Clearly, has natural its own. So yeah, I'm giving it a 9. I'm not skipping it at all.
For me, Sister Morphine. I used to listen to this song a lot. I really loved the sort of darker vibe to it. A lot of my music taste is blues and rock, but a lot of it also is a darker end, so I appreciated that. But this song really surprised me after not hearing it for so long. I love the acoustic and vocal intro, the great slide playing from Ry Cooder. The bass line is really cool in this song, really cool. Once the song kicks in, it highlights the brilliance of the Stones for me. It's just cool bass, drums together, darker vibe. The outro is my favourite part, and I wish it didn't fade out. I wish it kept going. For me, this is, the highlight of the record for me when you're talking of the how tracks are listed on. And for me, this is kind of like their highlight on the record, on their journey, and I give it 20 out of 10. And it's my favourite song on the record.
Wow. I would not have picked that. I would not have picked that, Brad. You have certainly surprised this host with that mark really cool. And that opinion, because I'm going to have to tell you guys, I'm torn up over this song. I used to always skip it. I understand exactly what it is in the context of this album. It's the last of the 3 standard tuning songs in, as Carl said, A minor. Interesting, it's the first song that's been recorded in London at Olympic Studios. All the other songs were either recorded in Alabama or at Stargroves. So it's, very much a studio song. And it has that studio effect for me. It's not synonymous with me with a song that I would, point to somebody and say, look, check this song out for the Stones. It's definitely a sleeper. It's a deep cut. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't skip it, but it's probably one of my least favorite songs on the album. Probably one of my but in the context of the theme and what the Stones are trying to achieve with the album, it's at home. So, I'm being honest with my marking, but I kind of, understand what they're trying to achieve with it. But, Yeah. Carl.
Yeah, no. It's all about being honest. It's all about being honest.
Yeah.
Yep. No. I mean, yeah. I mean, getting back to my low score on You Got the Blues, I will revisit it at one time. It definitely needs to mature. Yeah. So
Thank you. Yes. So you should.
And I've got the complete opposite view on Dead Flowers. So as a kid growing up, I loved it. I still love it.
Yes. Good.
It's got it kicks off with that country rock vibe. You can hear the Graham Parsons influence. Easy to play. I think it's D-A-N-G. Then it kicks into A on the bridge.
Yep.
So it's a great song for Stones lovers who are learning how to play guitar.
Big time.
It's got really quirky, humorous lyrics from the days of Dear Doctor and Beggar's Banquet. There was a famous, when I was in an Austin bar in Texas, they said, we'd like to play a song from the greatest country band in the world. And the crowd said, who? And they said, the Rolling Stones. So, we know that Keith loves country and they can do country well. However, it has a slight commercial tinge to it. From me, it would be probably the most commercial song on the album, I think. Once again, I like it. It is starting to wear on me a little bit. I would never skip it. I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah, that's fine. It's I should declare an interest here. We do this. Me and Dave in our band, we do this. So
I hope you say. I hope you change the lyrics to an ice cream and a spoon, not a needle and a spoon.
No. Listen. This is purist. Me and Dave.
Oh, okay.
Needle and a spoon.
Simon, if Neil Young can do it, you can do it.
Seen the needle and the damage done? Yeah, absolutely. Let's give myself some side, isn't it? Me and Neil Young.
Wow.
something of a gap, one feels. But yeah, I like, so as you say, it's that classic kind of country tinge song. Clearly influenced by Graham Parsons again, going through it, and I like the fact that Keith and Mick do that kind of interchanging choppy country guitar stuff on their Telecasters. Well, Keith is a Telecaster anyway, and counteracted with Mick Taylor's more fluid licks, and then the vocals. I think the vocals, are really good. As you say, it's got a humorous song to me. You can send me dead flowers at my wedding and all of that. It's, I'm not taking that too seriously myself. As perfect for Sunday lunch, Luke. Yes, I like the yes. For me, it's great. I'm giving it a 9 because we play it, and it's one of my favourite Stone songs, and and it's an upbeat little number, in spite of the needle and the spoon. I kind of like that. I kind of like that juxtaposition between the jaunty tune and all of that, and then the slightly darker lyrics kind of thing to, draw you in. It's a good. So yes, as I say, I have a vested interest in this because we play it and me and Dave play it. Cheating.
Well, for me, Flowers, it's a nice country vibe, classic melody, great catchy chorus. Piano is really cool in it. Slide guitars, country all the way. Solo simple but effective. I gave it 6.5 out of 10. Borderline skip.
Whoa!
Wow.
Yeah. Look. I can understand. Where you guys are coming from. And Arvin, once again, our very, very good friend, has taken a point that I was going to illustrate as a juxtaposition to this song. It's Townes Van Zant's version of this song. And incidentally, Townes said that Sticky Fingers was one of his favourite records. So, the Texan loved, these English cats too. So check out Townes Van Zant's version of Dead Flowers. Look, I get what you guys are saying. It's a radio song. I get it. And again, it's one of the great songs that the Stones can do live. There's 50 1,000 versions of it on YouTube, isn't it? You know, where they're playing it live over the years. Their live versions are probably better than this song on the album, which is pretty good. Incidentally recorded again in London at Olympic, so it wasn't in Alabama, you know, where you kind of thought maybe it could have been recorded. Have I given my mark? No, 7. So it's a 7. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. Just check my mark. Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip. But I like the fact that Carl said it's good for a beginner Stones guy, because I was one of those guys, you know, so the chords are easy and you can play this half pissed at a party on acoustic guitar and someone's going to get you a beer.
Yeah. You'll be paid some way, somehow. Yeah. Yeah. And in closing, it's magical and remarkable how a couple of 5'7" skinny little Englishmen in London can pull off a southern sound. That's why
big time.
When you got Townes Van Zandt, who's one of the greatest songwriters, one of the most underground musicians of all time, saying that's worth more than silver and gold. That holds a lot of weight. And like I said, I'm not disregarding the song. I love the song, but the song's been thrashed. It's got a radio tinge to it.
Yeah.
And it's not a low point. It's just, it is what it is for me.
Yeah.
See, it's funny that, isn't it? That here, you'd never hear it on the radio here.
Don't hear it here in Australia either.
No, I mean, I don't think that. I mean, there's.
You
wouldn't hear it on it. Not that we've got many rock stations, but you really, you know, if you go right, Brad. I mean, you know, there are 5 songs that anyone's going to play. The Rolling Stones, you know, Honky Tonk Women, they're going to play Brown Sugar, whatever. Maybe Street Fighting Man, maybe, but I don't think maybe Six Music. You might hear it occasionally, but. It's not a radio staple here because there's not a radio station that would play it particularly. As I say,
we have a couple of. We're fortunate in New Zealand. We have the Rock and Hierarchy, but they are getting worse by the year. They get more corporate, more digital, more liberal, far left leaning. More, you know, very controlled. But cut a long story short.
Far left? Did you say far left leaning?
In
their commentaries on things in between the songs.
And between the songs, yeah. Look, you know that there's something going on behind the scenes. But anyway, cut a long story short, we were fortunate. Andrew mentioned the word deep cuts. They played a lot of the Dead Flowers, and they played a lot of the the lesser known songs. So yeah. So
that's interesting.
And still we have that station called the Sounds. Is it Sounds?
The Sounds still play it.
Yep, still play it. So we're fortunate in New Zealand that we do hear that song on the radio a lot, and it's a great radio song. I mentioned the word before about driving in your car with Bitch. This Dead Flowers is great to hear. In the car. Beep. So yeah, so it's a great car song. Yeah. But guys, I've only got 11% on my phone, so timing's good because we're down to the last song. Because I'll have to recharge, and then you probably hear echo or feedback if I'm talking through the phone without the headphones. But in closing, I'm glad you mentioned Jimmy Miller and the flow of the tracks. What a way to end the album, Moonlight Mile. For me personally, it's like the middle of Can't You Hear Me Knocking. It's a dreamy song. It takes you to a magical place. Once again, a bit like Sway, Keith wasn't around. Keith's mentioned on interviews that he just couldn't believe how the band picked up just a Mick Jagger little riff and just carried it into this, just, you know, what's the right word? Not a melodrama, sort of not a concept song, sort of like a theme or something, you know? Because it's not a straightforward song. It builds up. It's got the beautiful strings. It's got the great Mick Jagger intro. It's very, it's quite, I wouldn't say dramatic, but it builds. I think, and it's grown on me, I think it's probably one of the highlights, if not the highlight of the album, for me personally. It's just, there's just, I mean, Stones have often been criticised as 3 chords, garage band. This is not a garage song at all. It's got beautiful touches to it. I love it. I never tire listening to it. We used to play it in the workshop with my dad and the guys working with us. Just couldn't believe it. They were just like, they didn't like Brad said before about the song that you didn't want to end. Was it Can't You Hear Me Knocking? You could have heard another 10 minutes if they kept playing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those songs that sort of it builds up, a crescendo. It's just beautiful. So for the first time, I'm going to give this a 20 out of 10. I just think it's the highlight of the album. I mean, I love, we all love Brown Sugar, the intro. We love the riff of Can't Hear Me Knocking. There's so many high points. There's not a low moment on this album. There's obviously a few weaker moments for us, but for me personally, this is almost the apex.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think that as you say, it's kind of it's about boredom and loneliness. Jagger said it was about boredom and loneliness, and he wrote the lyrics. The other interesting thing he said that I thought was interesting was that, as you say, it's just the 3 of them, Jagger, Taylor, and Watts on it.
Wow.
And no, not any of the others, and they were kind of late at night in the studio, and he said that basically all these things, the strange tinkly pianos, the tom-tom mallets on the drums, the different guitars, they came together to produce a feeling of vulnerability and loneliness. And I think the 3 of us finished the recording about 6 a.m. But the interesting bit is that he said it's like a recording and a song at the same time. Wow. So it only happened the once. They only did it the once. They just went through it, and they didn't kind of they didn't go back and do it again. It's just the 3 the 3 of them do it, and that's kind of how it works, just as a strange kind of little strange thing that they did together, and which I think is really interesting, that thing about having being a song and a recording at the same time, so that if you like it, they kind of built it up and did some stuff on it, and
added layers.
Added layers. And unlike other Stones songs, which clearly are not put together like that in quite the same way. Yeah. It's much more Keith comes up with a riff, and Keith and Charlie do stuff, and so I agree. I think that it's a great the acoustic opening. Just those acoustic guitars. Good morning, Great Vanzini. Hope you're good. And the piano back in, the strings that give an atmosphere. Yeah, as you say, in their build, it's an atmospheric track, isn't it?
And you bring up a good point. Sorry to cut in. It's definitely a studio song, because it's impossible to play live. I mean, you'd have to have a week's worth of rehearsing at the Royal Albert Hall to do that.
Yeah. And that kind of special, it being a song and a recording at the same time, I think. And also mainly the tom drums as well. That kind of thing. Just give it an atmosphere, give it a different vibe to what's gone before, clearly, and give it a kind of thing of its own. This kind of instrumental, And for me, it's a great coda to the album. I'm giving it a 9 and not a skip at all. I think it's a wonderful track, and as I say, different to the way that they did certainly done other stuff. Putting it together.
Well, you guys have covered off most of my notes, but for me, the song is a great way to end the album. It's got a cool little intro vibe. The vocals, guitars together are great. There's some great playing and a real mellow vibe together. Without sort of repeating what you guys are saying, I gave it 7 out of 10. Strong song, but just in comparison to some of the other ones, that's where I put it, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10 too, and it's a song that I used to skip for a long time. And through discussions and debates with Carl over the years, come to appreciate the song because he's already elaborated why he holds the song in high regard. So that's one of the great things about talking about music. We listen to it, but we also talk to other people about it, and that's one of the reasons why we do the show, guys, isn't it? Because it's about sharing some opinions and some thoughts and renegotiating some of these songs that we've been listening to for a long time. I don't skip it, but again, I think it puts itself very, very clearly in the album. An open G song, so we've gone back to the original key of G. We've had some little detours, so they've brought us back to where we started. Smart move. Interesting about what Keith said about the song too. He kind of likes it. It's one of his favourite Stones songs, and he's absent. So, yeah. Would it be a song that I would introduce somebody to from outer space? Because that would be probably about the only people that wouldn't have heard the Stones. So everyone in the world's heard of the Rolling Stones. So it'd have to be a Martian. Would I play the song to a Martian? Probably not. But yeah.
Yeah. You're going to give it a mark, Dr. Walton?
Oh, seven. Yeah, it's a 7. Yeah. It's a 7 out of 10. But it's never a skip. The context of the album, though, isn't it interesting? You go back and you read some of the reviews when the album came out, and then obviously the reviews and opinions about this album over time. A lot of good journalists, and I know that Brad and Carl and Simon and I have kicked a few journalists in the nuts over the course of some of the shows we've done, because they've done some sloppy work and some sloppy research. But the serious and authentic music journalists have said that this is just probably near perfect, a near perfect album.
Yeah. And from 1971,
absolutely.
The classic year for rock albums.
Yeah.
Well, they did I wasn't sure if it was a survey or not, but they said what was the best decade of music, and I actually have to agree. The 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and it was the 70s.
Gotta be.
Because you had the Chicago Blues guys still alive. You got the Rockers, the Billy Joe Shavers, the Townes Van Zants, the Deep Purples, the Queen. You had the punk rock at the end. You had Bruce Springsteen coming in, Bob Dylan. The list goes on and on. You still had the Soul guys doing their thing. Elvis was still alive.
Disco.
Elvis was in Vegas. Everything.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind and Fire, the funk, James. Just.
What do we got now?
DC from Australia.
Junk.
Yeah. If I just say, just read out these albums. These albums came out in 1971. The Allman Brothers Band live at the Fillmore, Black Sabbath, Master of Reality, Hunky Dory, Caravan in the Land of Pink and Grey, Alice Cooper, Killer, The Doors, L.A. Woman, Tarkus, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, The Faces, and Nods as Good as a Wink to a Blind Horse, Aqualung by Jethro Tull, first album I ever bought, Pearl by Janis Joplin, Led Zeppelin 4, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, Mountain, Nantucket Sleigh Ride, hats off to Leslie West, Pink Floyd, Medal, the Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers, Santana 3, Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story, Who's Next, the Yes album. I mean, these are albums that are still revered now. Never mind,
hence the word classic rock. Classic.
It's in magnificent company, I think, with those, those albums. Amazing. Kind of amazing stuff that came out that year. As you say, the
bands around the time, since that actually recorded the music, without sort of fixing, tracking, retracking. It was just moment things, get the moment done, like get it down in the moment, pick the vibe, stick to the vibe, get it done, move on, no procrastinating over songs, but yeah, different era.
Yeah.
Different era.
Well, an exciting era where, the possibilities were, in the words of the great Tom Petty, the future was wide open. And that's true. People are really getting to grips with the studio, getting to, you're getting more tracks, to do 8-track, 16-track.
You had bands that made albums and made great albums, and they toured on those albums. You had bands that were working.
Yeah. Or they toured them first and then recorded them. Which is interesting. Pink Floyd toured loads of Dark Side of the Moon for a year before they recorded it.
Wow.
Which you would never do now, would you? You would never do that now.
Not these days. People film it, put it on YouTube, and then it's not new.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, it's crazy.
Bootlegged fast that it takes to say, but it's I think that it's it's really it's important to record those things because I think that the context in which these albums are made is what makes them special in many ways. That kind of thing of the art. As an artist, you're now being viewed as an artist. You're now going to produce a piece of art. A record is a piece of art, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You're programming it, a particular way to produce, the sort of the journey, if you like, and the vibe that entails, and you're putting songs in particular places to do particular things, juxtapose the last one, feed into the next one, whatever it might be. And I think that it's really important to say that stuff because it's not done now. Clearly, these days it's very much single, unless you're old heads like us, very much single track stuff. People pick a track, or whatever, download it to the via iTunes or whatever. And
well done, Luca. Well done, Luca. 23 years old.
Well done.
And you're listening to this
Top
kind of
man.
stuff, mate. You are on the track. You are on the road.
I envy you. The amount of albums, the amount of really, really great music that
you've got
that
to listen to, man.
When you're
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for that. We always appreciate you jumping in and supporting the show. You're fantastic. Okay, just a couple of things. So I don't know if you want to be around tomorrow, Brad, but Simon and I are just going to jump on and we're just going to do a bit of a roundup on the years. So if you want to jump on for an hour and a half tomorrow, it's going to be our top 5 things over the years, over the year. Obviously, we're going to do a rest in peace list. So Leslie West passed away, and if you're a bluegrass fan like me, Tony Rice passed away. So so we've got a roll call to talk about, and maybe some hopes and some aspirations that we might have individually for ourselves as far as music goes. And we can just talk about a few things. So we'll be on air live tomorrow. Carl, you can jump on too if you want. I'll send you the link. We'll go live. We're doing the Van Halen show next Saturday, but then I'm going to be on a break for a couple of weeks, guys. So when we come back, I'll be in touch with you guys anyway, and I'll keep you guys in the loop. But when we're back, we're going to be talking about Brad's album. So we've got a few weeks. Have you got an album, Brad, that we need to listen to, or do you want to think about it and talk about it tomorrow?
Abbey Road, the Beatles.
Awesome. Awesome.
What a choice.
Fantastic. I look forward to that. So hold your horses, everyone. That show, the first show when we come back, will probably be about a 4-hour show because there's a lot of stuff on that album.
And it's probably my all-time favourite Beatles record, and probably, I dare say, in my top 3 albums of all time.
No argument from me.
It's definitely a gem. Should we close out on a Sticky Fingers summary, or how does it work with ranking the tracks? Have we done our job?
Just hold on for 1 second, mate. I'm just going to just say, please, if you guys have enjoyed anything that we've said this evening, please share our channel. We do appreciate everyone's efforts in sharing the channel, but I do need to remind you guys, please, it's easy. You just cut and paste this channel and you spread it on social media like a disease, and then we'll get some subscribers. It's the only way that we're going to grow the channel. You guys in the chat, you have to help us. If you want to help us, if you want to be grateful for hanging out with us, if you can do that, we'll be grateful. Thank you.
Definitely.
Perfect. Yeah, and to echo on that, it's a great show. We've got people from all corners of the earth talking about one main thing, the music we love, and we want to share it.
Awesome. So we'll be live tomorrow, 6 o'clock. So join us. Nothing really. We've got a bit of an agenda there, but it's going to be a wrap up for the year. No music to talk about as such. So where do you guys, just to echo what Carl said, where do you guys situate Sticky Fingers in the list of Rolling Stones albums for yourselves?
Good question. Probably it would be in my top three. Exile, Main Street, and I'd have to think of the third one because they're all pretty on par for me after that.
Yep. Yeah, well, Exile for me, then this album, and then it's either Biggest Banquet or Let It Bleed.
Yeah, I would say one of those.
Yeah, thank you, Arvin. Yeah. Arvin's going to be a social disease for us.
Magnificent.
Carl and Simon, where do you guys situate Sticky Fingers?
Oh, in my top three, as I say, it has a special place for me because it's the first Stones album I bought. You know, I arrived at pretty much, it's right, for me, right up there with Exile on Main Street. It was one of their very best in that run of late 60s, early 70s, Stones albums that define the Stones today and define, really when they got into their stride as a rock band rather than an R&B band. Mick Taylor, and clearly everyone knows that the best version of the Rolling Stones is the one with Mick Taylor. It's in all the books. We've done the formulas. That's how it works. Okay.
Yes.
Done your working out. That's it.
Yep.
So,
no argument. No argument, Simon. Yeah. You can't beat that. What a run. Biggest Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Gateshead Soup, Cheapers.
Black and Blue. I like Black and Blue as an album as well.
All the way up to Tattoo You. Yeah.
All those albums are great, but the Sticky and it was pretty much their. Let It Bleed obviously was the start of something special. Well, Biggest Banquet with Brian still there, but I think Sticky Fingers was a with their track selection, they touched on a little bit of everything: hard rock, ballads, blues. Concept song, Moonlight Mile. But it, like I said at the start of the show, it really showcased Mick Taylor's guitar playing and why the classic period we owe a lot to Mick Taylor, because they were a bona fide rock band, even though Keith likes that, which they do interplay in that album. But Mick Taylor, and who doesn't like lead guitar? I mean,
well, you can't underestimate. You can't underestimate the role of Mick Taylor.
Suited the times. Suited the times.
Yeah.
Case, I think Stones as a bona fide hard rock band, and they were. Yeah. So for me, I want to say it's my top 3, definitely top 5.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so
That's that.
I appreciate that, guys. So, are you on? You want to jump on tomorrow, Brad? Are you around tomorrow? Want to jump on with your top 5 and yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, your top 5 things of the year. Obviously we
Top
don't
5,
want
top 5.
Yeah. And then obviously we want to go through and do a roll call for the people that have passed away, because there's been a hell of a lot of them, unfortunately.
Been some, yeah.
Hasn't been a great year in general for a lot of people, but with the impact of COVID and everyone's lives being turned upside down, and then losing people like Eddie Van Halen and the likes of Leslie West and everyone else has passed away this year, and the fact that there are people like that I'm my personal life that have had family members take their own lives and all that sort of thing. So it's been a very heavy year. So it'd be hard to pick 5 things, but we'll embrace the good,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the key things that we have to do, guys. We've got to try and find some positivity and some things that we might be looking forward to in the new year. Gear acquisition. Thoughts maybe. You getting out touring certainly has to be number 1 on your list. You too, Simon, getting back on board gigging. Carl and I getting this Stones tribute band thing together. So there's a lot to talk about, and we can share that tomorrow. But
get it together, guys. Come on.
Yeah. As usual, guys, it's always been a pleasure hanging out with you guys, and it's been very, very nice having Carl on board leading the discussion. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, good to see you,
No
Carl.
problem. I mean, I appreciate the invitation, and it's always good and it's nice to finally do a show with Brad. Seen some of the other shows. Simon,
Thanks,
as always, thank you so much for taking out your morning. Your early morning, this could be your sleeping in time, sleepy time.
If only.
He loves it.
It shows
I'm not
your
very good at sleeping. That's the trouble.
to not only the show, but to your love of music.
He's a morning person.
Sharing it.
Clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
I remember
thanks,
last
guys,
year, Simon, you're in some farmhouse with a big
Yeah.
That's right.
Some big stew or something for Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, we do. Yeah, we normally my family gets together. 20 of us get together in a house in North Devon. It was about 60 miles down the road. But we decided that to give my 85-year-old mother COVID as a Christmas present probably wasn't a good idea. She wouldn't want it. Yeah,
oh, sorry.
You still here? Sorry. No. Yeah. So we
Brad.
didn't go this year. So we did it all socially distanced. But my mum has had the vaccine, the first part of the vaccine, so she gets the second one on the night. So after that, we'll be able to get back together and get back a bit more normal, because she won't be able to have it. Excellent.
Okay, guys. So Warren's given us a link to his channel. So what I'll do, Warren, I'll edit this video and I'll put that link on in the comments here. So if you guys can help Warren and subscribe to his channel, please, later on, that would be good. And we can do a banner for Warren, because he's a anybody. If anyone else in the chat wants us to help do a banner, no problems. We'll do it. We'll do it for you. And while we're talking about banners, if you've come to the end and you're watching a rerun, check out this guy here. He's our co-host, brad-cook.com. It'll take you to all his social media hangouts. He's a regular contributor to Instagram. So if you want to check Brad out and hang out with him in a close environment, he's there. He's cooking. He's there. He's hot.
And so I've got a thanks, mate. I've got a guitar solo challenge going. So go to my Instagram page, check it out, and for all you fellow guitar players, just get involved. It's a bit of fun. It's not a competition. It's more just to see what people can come up with. And it helps spread the word of who I am, which is even better. So get involved, guys. So we're all guitarists here, so I expect all of you to get on Instagram and do it now.
Yeah. No, we're all guitar players.
Oh, Captain.
Captain Cook. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it, but at least you guys can say that you met Brad when he was lowly, downtrodden, poor musician on this show.
Covering another,
when he makes it famous,
song.
I'll stay on the show, Andrew, because you told me I'm not allowed to leave.
No,
yeah, that's it. Never mind your touring schedules, out with Guns N' Roses or any of that nonsense, Brad. You get on this bloody show on a Sunday morning. Stop mucking about.
And thanks to everyone for your support. Thanks. Merry Christmas to everyone that we haven't said that to yet. And, it's been a hard year because we haven't been able to catch up with family, myself included. I haven't seen my mum or my family and stuff like that. And everyone's struggling through this. So it's good to have these little interactions that take your mind off all that stuff. And thanks, Andrew, for inviting me back again and not letting me leave the show.
Oh, look, we're a team. We're a team, guys, and I appreciate it, and we get good support, and that's what it's about, and I like hanging out with you guys because you guys have something to offer and we can learn. And, even Carl said he's going to go back and renegotiate, a song on this album, and he's going to come back and report back to us next year and it'll be 10 out of 10. But certainly So I look forward to the four of us doing the Beatles Abbey Road. I'll talk to you guys about the date when we do that, but that should be a good one. That'll be a hot one. That'll be a cooker.
Cool.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to do the roll call, Simon?
One of my an album I was raised on.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. We've got to get you on for it.
Yeah. So we should say. Happy New Year, Blues Harmonica. Warren, thanks so much. Arvin, of course, thank you guys. Nelson Rodriguez, thanks Nelson for your support throughout the year. Luca Ferrara, welcome. And we had Ellen Borishine. Thanks, Ellen, for your support. Hope we didn't put you to sleep too early. And we had the great Vanzini and Kubrick Lover as well dropped in. Some guy called Brad Cook, and McKinley Lohman. Thank you, McKinley, and Quentin, mighty Quentin James. So I think D-Tube as well. D-Tube, thanks guys for dropping by. Happy New Year.
Thanks for the comment on the EP Rocks Hard too. Blues guitar harmonica.
Yeah, young Warren. And so thanks all. And hopefully we might see you tomorrow if you're not feeling sleepy.
Yeah. No, we'll be around. Yeah. I'll look forward to that one, hanging out with you guys tomorrow. So we'll catch you guys later.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Happy New Year.